This is my presentation for Unit 52. Welcome. I'll go through some of the things that I did to create my project. Moving on to my first slide, which is idea generation. Firstly, I created my maps, showcasing movement, attacks, specials, ultimate attacks, that works. I then created some mood boards which showcase animations created for Unreal on the Unreal Marketplace by a few different people, which are very good. I then created a small research document as my third section of idea generation, which showcases how to retarget animations, retarget skeletons, communicate between skeletons. So my Mixamo character could use Unreal animations, and it would also work on the reverse, but nobody really wants to use a Mixamo animation on the Unreal mannequin. I then move forward, setting up the character, and I did this by retargeting the Unreal mannequin skeleton to the Mixamo character skeleton using a humanoid rig. This would mean that my Mixamo character could use any animations the Unreal mannequin could also. And as I used animations from Mixamo and the Unreal Marketplace, this was a solid way to do that. Some of the problems I had was after retargeting, as you can see in the picture, it popped the ankles, wrists and knees out of sockets. I had a great deal of trouble trying to fix this until I found on the forums that somebody mentions if you open the advanced options of the skeleton and change each bone's translation to skeleton rather than animation, this no longer happens. I then moved on to character implementation. Which was creating blend spaces, adding sockets to the character, and anim notifies to any anim montages that I created. Sorry about that. I created one directional blend spaces for the character's movement. So idle to walk to run, I created a one directional blend space and applied the idle to the beginning of the one directional blend space track, walk to the middle and run to the end. I can then add this to an animation blueprint created for the character using the retargeted skeleton that I set up inside of a state with transition rules between each, as I created an idle and run for unarmed, sword shield and a two-handed weapon. I then needed to add sockets, so I could apply these weapons to the character based on what weapon they had equipped. Adding a socket, you need to navigate to the skeleton, select the bone you need, and in my case this was the right hand and the left hand, and add a socket. You can then manipulate this into place using a preview mesh. As I had already imported the weapons that I was going to use, this was very simple. I could then position it into place until I was happy with it, and then move into the character blueprint to add static meshes to the character and apply the sword and shield and set them up so they are hidden in game until I set their visibility to a new visibility based on communication with the animation blueprint of when the state changes. I then needed to create anim montages for each of the animations I plan to use, and within these I applied them to a new slot which I also created in the animation blueprint, which I named body, and then I could set up anim notifies based on what I wanted the character to do. Some of the anim notifiers that I actually set up was Launch Force, Equip. I was going to create anim trails, but that is better done with a skeletal mesh, as you can apply it to the bones within the weapon. I also added camera shake and camera zoom for certain attacks. You can see this in the video on the slide. I then needed to set up an NPC. I added a nav mesh bounds volume to the arena, and I just used the Unreal Mannequin as a placeholder for a boss, as I didn't really have one to use at that present moment in time, and I wasn't really overall happy with the way my Mixamo character turned out, so I didn't want to add a Mixamo boss and use them and have the same problems. I then created a function to check the player's distance. This is to be used in conjunction with what attack is used. This uses nodes that get the NPC's location, the player's location, and uses a subtraction and a vector length to get the player's location and acts accordingly. I can then use a lot of what I created for the player and replicate it, creating custom events for different ranges, using a switch on int and adding anim montages that are then played. The NPC can also utilize Launch Force as well as other anim notifiers, but I didn't feel like adding camera shake or camera zoom to an NPC's attacks would be very, very relevant to the game. Some of this can be seen in the video. As you can see in the top left corner of the video, I am using print strings as a test to show what sort of range the NPC is from the character. I then needed to add some functionality to certain areas of both the character and the NPC, creating bindings for the health, mana and stamina, applying damage and adding attacks. Creating bindings for the health, mana and stamina, this is done by creating a widget, adding progress bars, and then creating a binding that communicates with variables set up in the respective blueprints. Once the binding is cast to the character, you can then access the variables, setting the health variable to the on-screen widget. I can then use the health variables when dealing damage or receiving damage. Applying damage is done via a blueprint in the character blueprint. This uses an any damage node in the player blueprint. It then uses the player controller and a not equal node as a condition of a branch. Damage uses a float node to take away, and a minus float node to take away from health. It then sets this as the character's current health. In the NPC, I needed a custom event hooked up to an apply damage node using the damaged actor input as the player character. I used a random floating range as the base damage using variables I created for minimum and maximum damage. I can add these to attacks or the combo chains to control the damage attacks do to my specifications rather than between two random numbers. I then later expanded on these blueprints with the character gaining ultimate meter from being attacked. Some of the things that I've spoken about can be seen in the video in the slide. As you can see in the top left corner of the video, I am also using print strings to say when the sword hits the character. this is later removed at the end. That is just currently for testing. Cultural contexts. As I've changed the idea of my game, I do not feel as this is relevant any longer. As with my initial idea of a monastery, demons and the possibility of religion, this would have been more important and an area to explore, research and understand better. As my idea has changed, which you will see at the end, I do not feel that this impacts what I am creating any further. Moving on to peer review. Overall, it was pretty good. They seem to like what I have created. A lot of people pointed out a lot of the same stuff, that the blocking needed a bit of work, or the part that Zach actually picked up on is the blocking animation breaks all of my other animations after you come out of the blocking state. I feel that this is because I created a multi-directional blend space when everything else was a one-directional blend space. But I also may have messed up the blueprint. I am not 100% sure. One of the other areas pointed out was when my character equips either the sword and shield or the two-handed sword, he floats above the ground slightly. This is something that I fixed in my new project, as I have a proper root bone, but I feel that this could have been fixed by adding a root bone to the character first before retargeting any animations or communicating with the Unreal Skeleton to use any of the Unreal Mannequin animations. Some areas pointed out were pretty good, the attacks flow well, and the pickups in the arena were a good idea, which were very easy to create. Moving on. I restarted the project. I removed parts that I didn't like, some aspects that weren't initially in my original GDD. I mean, the character was possibly going to have a second weapon, but mainly just one. I wasn't 100% sure on that, and I feel that there's better ways to do things. Applying damage via capsules in a blueprint when it could have been done with an anim notify inside of an anim montage. So I'd like to learn how to do it that way, rather than creating a medieval style hack and slash. I've gone for a sci-fi style hack and slash, as this is like a little bit out of my comfort zone. I enjoy the medieval style a lot more than sci-fi, so it would be a greater challenge. It would be a different art style, different approaches, and this is what I've created so far. As the last slide shows, please feel free to ask any questions. I'll answer them directly in the comments or use them in my blog. If you feel I need to explain anything further, please do not hesitate to ask.